Hello everybody and welcome to Sin City Living. My name is Jason. I'll be bringing you today's episode. So today we're going to talk a little bit about dealing. This the three video set is going to be about dealing and some of the proper ways to do things and improper ways to do things that we see a lot. So for today's video, we're going to talk about come bets and the proper way to deal them. I'm not too sure exactly how I'm going to set up a patron exclusive video with these three dealing specific videos, but I'll try and come up with something for all of our patrons so we continue with the 4 or 5 exclusive videos a week we're trying to do. So come bets. Now, with come bets, there's a few fairly common errors that I see. Let me do this first. The first thing that I see that is done incorrectly on a fairly frequent time is not going in order. And what I mean by that is, let's say a 6 rolls. Let's say we're in a situation like this. The puck is on, I don't know, the 4. All right. So with 6 rolls, we've got a couple of come bets in here, and the dealer looks at the table and goes, actually, I'll even do this. The dealer looks at the table and goes, and now goes to pay. Because they glanced over and they could tell that this one was going to be an on and off situation, so they were going to be on and off. And then the other one is 22, off for 22. Now, the thing is, they did not go in order, and in the macro, just looking at it from here on the video, it looks like these are simple, and come bets can be simple for sure, but you have to remember that there is a ton of chips laid out across this table. Typically, they're all over. It's not just a couple right here and a couple right over there, but they're laid out all over. And when we go out of order, it's very, very easy for something to get forgotten, to get mixed up. Also remember that a lot of times while we're paying something, we're actually may not even be thinking about that bet that we are paying. If a 6 rolls, I'm looking at this stuff and this is almost unconscious to me. So I may be thinking about, okay, do I have any hard 6s that rolled if it was a hard 6? Or do I have any easy, did anybody have any hard 6s that came down that I need to remind them about? Or in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I got to remember to, maybe I've got some place bets that I'm already thinking about the payouts for because I know the player's going to do some odd presses or something. So I'm not even thinking about these bets. So what happens when you've got this flood of chips laid out? And typically, once you move their bet, if they are come bettors, they drop it back. They continue with their new come bet. So they drop it down. So then you go to pay, and I see dealers all the time get stuck because they went automatically. They didn't even think about what they were doing. They didn't consciously go, okay, I'm going to travel these, then I'm going to pay these. They just went out of order, traveled them, and then they find themselves going, is that a new bet or is that an old bet? Did I already pay that or did I not already pay that? Because they went out of order. The proper way to do all come bets is from player 1 around. You don't do travelers first. You don't do pay winners first. You do each individual person one at a time. One at a time. By the way, I just came up with what I'm going to do for the patron exclusive video for the come bets. I am going to show one of the, from when I used to teach it, the first drill that we taught for come bets. Well, the first couple of drills. There's like 3 or 4 drills. So I'll shoot a video on the drills for learning come bets and how to deal them. So the proper way to pay these would be, again, to go in order. You start with player number 1, right? 15 pays 18 plus 15 is 33. Okay. So I'm going to cut out 33. Now, since they have the same flat bet, it's just an off and on situation. Thank you, everybody, by the way, for the coffees. Very, very appreciated. For everybody else that might be curious about their patrons and stuff like that, just check out the description of the video down below. We've got some links for you. So now that I've handled player number 1, I'm going to move around. I'm going to go over here. Then I get to this player, and I'm going to be off for 22, and then I'm going to be on for 10, and that goes completely in order. Another one of the more common, extremely common mistakes done with come bets comes during the payment process. I've seen something like this right here fairly often. So we have a 6 roll, and let's say we're on a $10 minimum bet table. Okay, so we have a 6 roll, and we start out with the come bets. Of course, we go to player 1, they've got a come bet. So we look down, we see the odds, 15 pays 18, plus 15 flat bet pays $33, right? So the dealer cuts out the $33, and then for some inexplicable reason squeezes the bet and then puts it down. I even see some players heel both the bet and the payout. This is about as wrong as a football bat. It makes absolutely no sense to squeeze the bet. Squeezing the bet is one of the first things you were taught never, ever, 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 ever to do. It's extremely lazy. They just don't want to take the time or the effort. Sometimes you've got bets in the way, so you have to push the bet out. They don't want to take the time or effort to do it properly. Proper way is you never change the bet. You do not change the bet. You pick it up and you pinch it so that the odds and the flat bet remain separate. Never, ever, ever change the bet. Here's the thing. I have actually seen this happen. Not with a 6, but it's all still pretty much all the same. Come out there, you pay it off, and the player says, "You paid me wrong." No, you have 15 odds, that pays 18, plus your 15 flat bet. No, I had 20 odds. There's absolutely no way to prove that without rolling the cameras back. None whatsoever. Zip, zits, zero, which means that we can either stop the game for 5 to 10 minutes while we roll it back, or at the very least stop it for a minute while we go through the whole argument, and then we decide to call the cameras, and sometimes we'll let the game continue on while we're waiting on the surveillance to come back to us. But either way, we have to stop the game for what could be a shot being taken by the player, or it could be a legitimate complaint. Either one. It could be a shot, could be a legitimate complaint. The point being is it all comes down to the dealer not doing their job properly and the dealer being lazy. If the dealer had brought the bet out properly, that would never occur. If they brought the bet out so that the odds and the flat bet did not change, not once, then it wouldn't be a problem. It would never have occurred. But instead, they had to be lazy and squeeze the bet and then just bring it on out like that, which means there's no possible way to prove it without running the cameras back. Completely wrong. Like I said, about as wrong as a football bat. You just don't do that. But it's one of the most common lazy dealer things that comes up. Now, when it comes to the come bets, you can always, at least with the 6 and 8, on the lower levels, red and even green, you can always look at the bet and calculate your payout based on color just as much as you can based on the math. Now, you should be able to just look at it and go, okay, 10 pays 12 plus 15 is 27. But you could also just as easily look at this bet and go, okay, well, we've got, what do we have? We have $15 flat bet, and we have $10 in odds. And we know that flat bets always get paid even money. So if you have 3 reds, they're going to get 3 reds. And you also know with odds, reds always get 1 red and 1 white. So you could very easily look at this and go, okay, it's going to be 5 reds and 2 whites. It's the easy, quick way of looking at it. So a lot of dealers might just glance down at this and go, okay, it's going to get 27. It's got 2 whites for the odds, and then everything else just gets a red. You can do the same thing with green. Let's look at this. So we've got a $15 flat bet, and we've got 35 in odds. Okay, so we know that the $15 flat bet always gets reds, right? Each red gets a red. And we also know that on the odds, each red gets a red and a white, and that each green gets a green and a red. Very, very easy, right? So we can use that to to know that we are getting 55 total dollars in reds, or just 2 greens and a red, and 2 whites. 2 greens and a red and 2 whites. Quick and easy. This really comes up and becomes easiest once the dealer has some time under their belt, because they get used to seeing that kind of stuff on the pass line and the odds. So we just kind of instantly calculate out that payout. We don't even think about it, we just calculate it out. The payout just pops up right into our head. We don't have to do the math on it anymore. It's just right there, because we're used to trying to convert, if we're in a hot roll, so we want to convert some people from reds to greens and stuff like that. So we get those payouts in our brains from the get-go. So the proper way to handle come bets is, again, in order. You always handle the winners first, so you always handle the payouts within that individual person. You still go in order. You start with the people first. You just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way around to number 8. You just go around the circle. You deal with all the come bets for that individual person. Now, if the flat bets stay the same, then you don't actually touch the bets. It's what's called off and on. You're coming off with a certain payout and coming on, but the flat bet is the exact same. The bet is basically the same. The contract bet is the same. So you don't touch either one of them, because when people have the same contract bet, 90% of the time they're going to have the same odds. Right? So by sheer procedure, you don't touch the bet. So in a situation like this where the 8 rolls, I would look down and go, okay, let me start with player number 1. So they've got a winning bet, because the first thing I'm going to look at is inside. First, they've got a winning bet, right? And that's going to pay $33. So as I'm cutting it out, I look over and they have a brand new bet, and it's the same flat bet. So I know I don't have to touch the bet. I can just say you're off and on for $33, and I move on to the next player. So I go to the next player. There's nothing that's winning, but they do have a bet that's coming on. So they are on for $10. Keep on going, and I get to the next player, and let me make this a $15. We'll assume we're on a $10 minimum bet table. So then I look up, and we have a winning bet, right, that's going to pay $22. So as I'm cutting it out, I look, and they have a brand new flat bet, or they have a brand new come bet, and it is a different flat bet. So the contract bet part of it is different. They have $10 here, $15 over there. So they are off for $22 and on for $15. Now I want you to notice something. You notice that I picked up the new bet before I put the payout down. I've seen some dealers do this. So now you have 2 bets and a payout all down on the table at the same time. No, not what you do. You pick up the bet, then you pick up the new bet, then you put the payout down. So they are off for $22 and on for $15. Then I'm going to go to the next player. Right? They're getting paid $28. They do not have a new bet down, so they are off for $28. And then I keep going, and the next player is on for $15. I go all the way around the loop. And by doing it that way, I never once have to question whether I missed a bet, whether it's a new bet, an old bet, should I pay it, should I not pay it. Never once have to question that. I've seen dealers that have been dealing for 10 years that get stuck every so often going, did I pay that? Am I supposed to take that? Is that a new bet? Is that an old bet? I'm not talking just come bets. It could be field bets, could be almost every bet on the table. Did I pay that? Did I not pay it? Is that a new bet? Did I forget to take a bet? And they find themselves wondering that, and the reason is because they so frequently go outside of procedure and go out of order. By the same token, I know dealers that have only been dealing for 2 or 3 years that almost never have that happen. It's going to happen at some point to everybody where you spaced out or whatever, but in general, I know dealers that have only been dealing for a few years that almost never have that happen. The reason for that is because they always follow the procedure and they always go in order. Okay? The procedure and going in order is there for a reason. It's there for game protection. It's also there to make sure that you don't make easily prevented mistakes. So I hope you guys find this interesting, illuminating, enlightening, or at least just plain fun. Thank you everybody for watching. We will catch you next time. Bye now. Hello everybody and welcome to Sin City Living. My name is Jason. I'll be bringing you today's episode. And today's episode is part of our little as we now film everything in sets of 3, this one is devoted towards the dealing side of things. The last video was about come bets. We're going to talk about don't come bets this time around. When it comes to the exclusive for our patrons videos, I'm not entirely sure what we're going to do yet. I don't think we'll do any live rolls. I'm probably going to post up some of the more common drills when I used to teach how to deal dice for a dealing school. I had some drills that I would run the students through to learn the procedures and learn proper ways of paying the don't comes. So I'm not sure yet exactly what I'm going to put there. But if you guys are interested in those exclusive videos for our patrons, just check the description of the video down below. Now, with the don't comes, first I want to go over some of the common mistakes that I see with the don't comes. All right, the first common mistake I see, let's say we have 2 players playing the don'ts. I'll just say they have 2 each for right now. Keep it simple. Okay, the first and I will say the least common mistake. I do see this. I probably see this once a month. Somebody does that. I like to give the benefit of the doubt and just say they're spacing out. But the first mistake that I will see is when a dealer pays both of the players at the same time. By procedure, you pay one person at a time. You pay all of their don't comes, and then you hand them off. Then you move on to the next player. So occasionally I will see a dealer that will go, okay, that, there we go. And then stack it all up and hand it off to the 2 players. That is wrong. Absolutely wrong. We pay one person at a time. The second thing that I see done wrong fairly often is paying out of order. And there's 2 actual ways that they can pay out of order. Let me go ahead and add a third to this. Third number to it. Now, there's 2 orders that occur with the don't comes. And that is who you pay and what numbers you pay. Now the first thing, the most important thing, is who you pay. Unlike most bets where we start off with closest to the stick and then work our way around towards the dealer, when it comes to the don't comes, we actually go in the opposite order. We start closest to us and then move our way around to the stick person. Now why is that? The reason for that is a game protection thing. Almost all game protection stuff on blackjack, baccarat, craps, pie, everything it's to prevent, firstly to prevent cheating, secondly to prevent mistakes, right? So and it's not so much that we worry about cheating, as we worry about the potential of the cheating. Now, when it comes to the don't comes, these are in a dealer-controlled area. Players should never reach in this area, ever. Now, we do have to correct a lot of players on that. Now, if a player wanted to cheat, let's say the 7 outcomes. So while we're over here taking the losing bets, let's say a player wanted to add to their winning bet back here. Which player would most easily be able to do that? Which player would most easily be able to sneak something into their bets over here? The one standing closest to the dealer. So let's pay that person first. Let's get all of that person's bets out of the way immediately. Second factor involved in that is what numbers could they reach first? Easiest. What is the easiest number that they could cap their bets on? The number closest to them. Now, I'm not going to say the 10 because on the other side of the table it would be the 4. It's the number closest to them. So therefore, we will also pay the number furthest away from the box, who's over there, all right, furthest away from the box, in towards the box. 2 reasons for that also. 1, so that we've paid out the number that the player could most easily change. So by the time we move on, if the player tries to say, hey, you paid me wrong, and tries to cap their bet and say, hey, you paid me wrong, well, the box watched the dealer pay it. And will say, no, I watched him pay it. He paid you correctly. And then we know the player tried to cheat, right? Because the box saw the original bet and watched it be paid. Secondly, If we went the other direction, if we started over here to pay and then went this way, the dealer's arms are now blocking the box's view of all these numbers. So now, yes, the player could actually attempt to cap their bet and nobody would know because that bet is being blocked visually by the dealer. So we start over here. So by the time we're blocking the view of a bet, it's already been paid and verified by the box who watched it being paid. Okay? So we always start with the player closest to the dealer, and we always start with the number furthest away from the box. So if I were to pay this, the 7-out were to occur. Well, since this is 5 checks or more, we actually have to break it down. Right? So 30 would pay 15, plus we've got the $10 flat bet. Right? And now I move on to any other bets that this player may have as I continue to sweep down. They don't have a 9, but we come over here, they do have an 8, so I'm going to pay that. Then over here, they do have a 5. This is only 5 checks high, so I wouldn't need to break it down, although since it's 2 colors, you most definitely could. Okay, so 21 pays 14, so I'm going to pay 15 for one, and then pay the flat bet. So then I would clear my hands, and I'm clearing my hands to show that I am not in collusion with the player, that I don't happen to have a couple of checks in my hand as I go to stack up their bets. I'm not trying to add anything to their bets. So now I will stack up all their bets, right? Now they are no 5, and they are no 10. Now, another common thing that I see dealers do is they don't come through the don't come. This isn't super common. Most dealers still do this properly, but some will go straight out to the player, wherever that player may be. Since the player is right next to me, it's not that big of a deal. Pretty much have to go through the don't come. But by procedure, you always go through the don't come. Always. You should also hand off the bets. Now, there are some dealers and some boxmen that will say, well, since we don't hand off come bets, which are self-service into the come, we shouldn't hand off don't come bets that are self-service into the don't come. There's a yes and no to that. Definitely. So most schools will teach to hand it off to the players, and most boxmen and supervisors will expect it to be handed off to the player. So now that I have paid that player closest to me, now I move on. Now I only have one other I actually completely missed this one. No 8. And then hand that one off as well. Don't know how I missed that. Does happen, especially when you have a lot of players. I've had 5 don't come players. These boxes are not big enough to hold 5 players, so you got to get a little creative with that to be able to remember who's got what bets as well. So now that I move on to the next player, theirs are very easy because they're all abridged. So since they're all abridged, all I have to do is size in twice. Then we stack everything up. Then no 5, no 8, no 10, and I hand it off to the player. I don't leave it in the don't come. Now, how do I know when something is a bridge? For the most part, with a few exceptions that deal just with the colors, and really once you've been dealing for a while, nobody actually corrects you on that either. Something is a bridge when the lay and the flat bet pay the same. For instance, you've got a $10 flat bet on the 8, okay? And they say, I want to lay $12. Okay, so I could heel that off. So I've got a $12 lay. Right. So what does a $10 flat bet pay? Well, it always pays even money, so it pays $10. What does a $12 lay pay? Well, coincidentally enough, it pays $10. So if they both pay the same, I can bridge it. By bridging it, that means that I know all I have to do is size it twice. I don't have to do any math once the 7 out comes. I already did my math when I verified that it's a bridge. Once I verify that it's a bridge and I set it up as a bridge, I don't need to do any math anymore. Nice and simple. Now look at the 5 and 9. Let's say I have a $15 flat bet on the 5 and 9, or on the 9. Okay, could that be a bridge? Absolutely not. Since it pays 2 for every 3, there is no way to do a lay that will pay $15. Right? $22.50 lay is just not going to happen. So in order for it to be a bridge on the 5 and 9, it has to be even. Now, if it's even, it depends. They have a $20 flat bet. If they give me a $30 lay, 30 pays 20, but I can't bridge this. It's not possible. But I can bridge it if they give it to me all in red. that would be a bridge. Right? The 4 and the 10 are even easier since it pays half once the lay occurs. It's very, very simple to figure out if it's a bridge or not. One interesting thing that I do see some dealers do, I can't say for sure that whether or not I'm a huge fan of it, but it does work, is if you've got a bridge on the 4 and 10 and it's all one color, you could just size in to the bridge itself. It works. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it does work. Okay. Now let me show you what's not a bridge. Let's say I've got a $30 flat bet, and they give me $60 lay, right? No, I can't do this as a bridge. It just doesn't work. You can't size in twice with 2 different colors like that. It just doesn't work. So that one would have to be properly healed off. So I hope you guys find this interesting, illuminating, enlightening, or at least just plain fun. We will catch you guys next time. Bye now. Hello everybody and welcome to Sin City Living. My name is Jason. I'll be bringing you today's episode, and this is the third one in our little group of 3 related towards dealing. And again, as we mentioned before, probably not going to do live rolls for our exclusive videos for our patrons. Likely going to show some of the drills that we used to teach when I taught this game. Some of the drills I used to have them do at the dealing school. So if you're curious about all the exclusive videos, go ahead and check the description of the video down below. And what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about place bets and come bets and how they interact and how you deal with them. This comes up relatively often when you have come bettors on the table because it's almost a guarantee you're going to have place bettors. That's the most common bet. So typically you're going to have some people betting place bets, and then you may have a few come bettors. And what do? So the first thing is that you deal with the come bets themselves first. You deal with all the come bet players first. So even though we always pay with position 1 and work our way around, we're going to ignore these right now because they're place bets. Come bets are first. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go down the line. And player 1 and player 2 don't have any come bets. So player 3 is on for 15. That's it. They didn't have anything already winning. Now player 6, does. They've got a $27 payout coming. And you notice when I pick it up, I don't pinch the bet. I make sure the odds and the flat bet stay separate. You also notice I don't leave 2 bets on the table at the same time. Because they have different contract bets, different flat bets, they're not in on and off situations. They are off for 27 and they are on for 10. Now that I have finished that up, now I'm going to move on and I'm going to pay my place bets. Place bets are fairly simple. So what I'm going to go over next is we're going to go over how they interact when you've got someone that is doing both place bets and come bets. Thank you everyone, by the way, for the coffees. Very, very appreciated. We've actually been hitting Dutch Brothers lately. There's one really close to us. So yeah, that's been our go-to. And of course the standard Starbucks. It seems to be everywhere I go, my grocery store, half the casinos. So now let's take a look when somebody has come bets and they already have a place bet. So the first mistake that I see is I will see a dealer, and this isn't super common, but I see it, is a dealer that will travel this come bet and then say, hey, how many odds do you want? And start paying their place bet. Why are you moving on to place bets? You're not done with the come bets. You still have more come bets to deal with. You know, and that's assuming there aren't any in here to pay also. But you still have at least one more come bet to deal with. So you're not moving on to their place bets yet. You're finishing the come bet. So they're on for 15. So now we go to the place bets. And by policy, by procedure, you take their place bet down and then you give them odds. Now somebody can specifically request to stay up, but the procedure does not call for you to default to keeping them up on their place bet. Now, this is one of those where as I pull their bet in, I'm probably going to say, hey, how many odds would you like over there? While I'm moving on to deal with this, because I'm hoping that they're going to answer me before I get to paying their bet. Because most likely, they have a $12 place bet. Most likely, I'm going to cut out 15 for $1, bring everything out, and then ask them how many odds, if they haven't already told me. Hopefully they've already told me, so I can just immediately give them their 15 odds, their 20 odds, whatever it may be. Okay? Especially if they say, I want 25 odds. Okay? Well, 12 pays 14, right? Well, if they want 25 odds, why would I cut out a whole stack of red, a whole bunch of red, just to bring that red over to the box so I can convert it into green? Why wouldn't I just pay 25 for 11, give them their dollar change, go with their odds, and move on? All right, keep moving on. This actually was originally intended to go over there. And keep moving on. It's quicker, it's more efficient, gets their change right away. You don't have to go coloring anything up. It's already done. Now I move on, I pay the next player. Then I get to the fourth player who also had a come bet. And I ask them, hey, how many odds would you like? Now, 18 pays 21. And I don't want to immediately cut out any green because maybe they say, oh, I want 15 odds. Well, okay, I need to have my red. But what if they say, well, I want 30 odds? Well, 18 pays 21, so why not just pay 26, 4, 5, drop 5 with the box, drop my other 5 right there, so I have their 30 odds, and there we go. Got their 30 odds. I don't have to do any other conversions. I've got everything that I need right there in front of me, and done. Now there's one other thing that can come up with place bets and come bets at times, and it tends to happen mostly when you're dealing with table max. So let's say we're on a 3, 4, 5 table, okay? So we have, let's see here. We'll just do it this way. Say we've had a couple of 8s rolls, so now we've got some come bets, another 8 rolls. And this first player is going to get paid $70. And they would come down. Now let's say they have a new come bet. So they would be in an off and on. Although they don't even need that. They can put the point. So they can just say, keep me up. Keep me there. They can put the points. So they wouldn't even need the new come bet. They could come off and then come right back on. It's allowed. But we'll just say they have a new one there, so it's just an automatic off and on situation, right? So we finish everything up, and we haven't moved the dice yet, and this player says, hey, I want to place the 8 for 60. We call it double parking, and of course they can. They absolutely can. Why? Because they're already at table max here. They can't do any higher in odds. Now, yes, they could increase their flat bet and then thus increase their odds. That would certainly be allowed. But in general, for most numbers, until you're at 10 times odds, it actually makes more sense to do a place bet. The equivalent dollar amount is going to pay you more than it would if you did part flat bet, part odds. So they can do the double parking. Now, if they are double parked, how would we deal with this? Let's say an 8 rolls right now. Okay? Let's say an 8 rolls right now. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is you're off and on for 70. Then I'm going to go to the next player. You were off for 105. Now I go back and I deal with the place bets. I don't pay this and that at the same time. I pay my come bets first, all the players' come bets, then I go around and I start doing the place bets. You always stick to your procedure. You always stick to your order of operations. Don't change anything. That's where mistakes happen. So I hope you guys find this interesting, illuminating, enlightening, or at least just plain fun, all the usual. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Hope you guys are having a great week. We will catch you guys next time. Bye now. Thank you everybody for watching today's video, and as promised, a little bit more detail on things that we are working on. So Again, we want to continue trying to expand the channel. We're really hoping to be able to add roulette as soon as possible, and then some video keno, video slots, stuff along those lines. Unfortunately, it ate up almost all of our cash, paying off all of our bills during the month of January while we were down, and now that the holidays have ended, YouTube's payouts have dropped significantly. So we're kind of treading water here as far as all that goes. Do have a lot of things we want to add, though. Not just those things, those additional games, and hopefully some carnival games and such like that, but the live streams. The biggest problem right now with the live streams is with 3 jobs combined between the 2 of us, 4 if I include the 20 to 30 hours a week I'm putting into the YouTube channel. It's very, very difficult for me to have a day and time that I can commit to doing the live stream every single week, because we also have our very young child to take care of. But I'm trying to figure that out. I'm thinking it's probably going to end up being on Monday nights or Tuesday afternoons, or possibly both. I intend to do at least one live stream exclusively for our patrons, and then another one on the YouTube channel. So possibly both days. We also have a few other things that we really want to attempt to move forward on. I'm just running into either time or skill set issues. I do want to eventually have a website going for us. I did used to program websites over a decade ago. A lot of things have changed, and I just don't have that time. And not a whole lot of knowledge on the current state of building websites, hosting what sites can host, and how to build up the e-commerce stuff. So if anybody has any skill sets along those lines and would like to answer some questions or just help us out, shoot us an email, sincitylivingLV@gmail.com. Also, I really hope to be able to start adding some exclusive stuff from Sin City Living, logoed shirts, hats. I'm looking to get custom dice made, even custom layouts made, although those would be pretty expensive. But I know zero about e-commerce and drop shipping and anything along those lines. So if you have any skill or knowledge in that area, please email me. I would love to ask you some questions and see if you can answer a few to help me figure out how to get that going. Same thing with designing our logos. I had some logos designed, very, very small logos, unfortunately, not big enough to blow up to put on T-shirts and stuff like that. And again, I know I know nothing about logo design, graphic design, any kind of websites that could do it. I literally know nothing. So if you have any skill or knowledge in that area, also please email me, and you're willing to answer some questions. Please email me and let me know. I'll admit I don't even know where to start as far as asking some questions, but I'm sure I'll ask a few, and that'll trigger a few more, so on and so forth. So yeah, there's that, and of course we do hope to continue to improve our AV setup, but I am an AV moron, so also right there, if you have any skill sets or knowledge in that area, please email me, and are willing to answer some questions. Please email me and let me know. We would love to help. Otherwise, again, thank you everybody for watching, and we're very excited to continue bringing you our videos. Bye now.